The EFF is holding its KwaZulu-Natal elective conference this weekend. Our reporter for the KZN region, Siphamandla Goge, is present. Let's get the latest from him now. Let's start off by asking Siphamandla, we've got this People's Assembly. It's essentially an elective conference for the economic freedom fighters in KwaZulu-Natal. We need to be plain, though, this isn't a province where the EFF has done particularly well.
Oh, well, indeed, their organizational report, which was presented earlier on in plenary, they paint a picture of a growing EFF in KwaZulu-Natal. It's a positive picture for the party. They say they are encouraged by the growing numbers and the growing membership. Of course, they say KwaZulu-Natal is strategic for them because they want to be the government in 2019 after the national and provincial elections. So they say KwaZulu-Natal is strategic. In fact, Floyd Shibambo, the Deputy President of the Economic Freedom Fighters, told the gathering that they are done with Gauteng. Gauteng is safe. They are now coming for KwaZulu-Natal because their election strategy is that they need to capture KwaZulu-Natal. They have already captured Gauteng. Therefore, they look set to become the government of the day after the 2019 general elections.
Siphamandla, I mean, at this point in time, politicians do talk a big game. It's election period after all. But with the EFF only being the third biggest party in South Africa, barely over 1 million votes in the last election in 2014, what do you make of Floyd Shibambo saying that they've captured the economic powerhouse of Gauteng and are now moving into, in many ways, what is virgin territory for the Red Berets? I mean, there wasn't even a big following for Julius Malema in KZN when he was still in the ANC.
Indeed, they say they are basing their calculations on the recent trend whereby their student command has been able to cause or to wreak political havoc in KwaZulu-Natal by winning SRC elections in major universities, including the Durban University of Technology, Mangosuthu University of Technology, and the University of Zululand, and Westville campus of the University of KwaZulu-Natal. So they say that trend paints a picture of a growing EFF. They are confident that it will translate into numbers and support for the 2019 general elections. And they also say the trend has shifted from 2014 up until now because the EFF is growing in KwaZulu-Natal. But let me call the spokesperson of the EFF, Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I see that he's about to join us now. He's the one who's going to answer your question there, Nicholas. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, thank you very much for your time. You say in your organizational report that your party is growing. You are basing that on the latest trend of your EFF student command winning SRC elections across KwaZulu-Natal. But some people will say that will not translate into numbers during the 2019 general elections.
The student population in South Africa is a voter population. They've got a voice. Whoever says that disregards the voice of the students and the student population in the country. So the task that is being discussed here is how to translate the SRC elections into national general elections votes. To make sure that those numbers of students are translated into voters of the EFF in the 2019 general elections. But also it means that we've got a proper activist base of the EFF student command who know how to campaign, who understand our message. It is a significant indicator. Do you know that no movement in South Africa has ever had any impact? Its growth is signified by the capturing of young people's imagination. And one of the most important tests and proofs to that are SRC elections. And that's why we're saying that here.
You are having this provincial assembly at a time whereby you claim that you are dislodging the dominance of the ANC and IFP in this province. But how are you going to do that apart from the students?
No, obviously, this is not a gathering of students. The students, the SRC presidents came to give messages of support. KwaZulu-Natal EFF has launched over 90% of branches across the province in all the wards of the province. So for each and every region to go into a regional People's Assembly, which is a regional elective meeting, elect its leadership, it must have first launched 90% of the branches. That means we've got at least 100 paid up members in each and every ward of the 90% of the wards of KwaZulu-Natal. And that's a proper base. That's a proper collective of activists. And that was not the case in 2014. It is the case as we go into 2019. That's growth. And therefore, people couldn't come in those numbers and join the EFF and build the EFF unless the dominant political parties and their domination was being undone.
But there have been some issues and instances of disunity in the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal. In 2016, you had to disband your provincial executive or the structure. Are you confident now that you have ironed out all those issues?
Well, it wasn't really the matter of disunity that led to the disbandment of the structures. Remember, this was a decision not in relation to KZN only, it was a relation as well in relation to the Eastern Cape, because we're struggling in relation to these two coastal provinces, and we thought, let's start from scratch. Let's go start from scratch, because we've had to go and redo the basics, bring in the national leadership to go into the ground and build and work with ordinary members of the EFF to recruit, launch branches, build up from scratch. It was an opportunity to really redirect our energies, since it was, I mean, as you know, 2017 was declared the year of the branch in the EFF, so that was the opportunity, and we're hopeful about next year.
Earlier on, you did warn your delegates not to spend too much time on leadership, election and positions. It seems as if there's been very little discussion on policies, particularly key pillars of the EFF, land and economy. I see in your commissions, those are not part of that.
No, there is. Remember that you came in during the organizational report discussions. So the organizational report discussions is about, you know, how the organization has been performing. Inadvertently, that wanted to result into some blame game of, no, we couldn't do well because of this and this name, and therefore this name, we don't even understand why it's available for leadership. That's all I was talking to. But remember, this is not the first of the conferences. There's been, you know, conferences of branches, conferences of regions. There's been thorough discussions about how in KZN we are going to realize the programs of the EFF, how we're going to win our people to all the 7 non-negotiable cardinal pillars. And we're going to commissions now. That's where majority of the ideas and the programs are going to be discussed, and part of that will be the policies of the EFF.
You seem preoccupied with the ANC. Even your deputy president took a swipe at the ANC, calling them a bunch of incapable and incompetent people.
The ANC runs the country. When the ANC was opposition under apartheid, it had to always make a criticism of what the Nationalist Party was doing. That's what politics is about. For an example, you know, if I have to give an analysis of how the economy is going, I have to explain to the people that Ramaphosa and the Eastern government don't know what to do with the petrol price rises. So that's what you are doing, is a criticism of who is in charge, because that's why we are suffering. And that's why we have to say what is wrong and then say how we are going to do it properly, why we are an alternative. We can't arrive at that description of why we're an alternative when we have not said what is wrong with what is present.
In closing, your deputy president says you are not accepting Minister or Finance Minister Nhlanhla Nene's apology. Why?
Absolutely. Nhlanhla Nene apologizes for having a friendship with the Gupta family. I mean, we don't care about that. What is important is that he lied, and that's what we care about. In an interview he did with you on this platform, Nhlanhla Nene said that he had never engaged with the Gupta family except bumping into them, insinuating that he only met them by coincidences, not planned. But now it comes out that he has had coordinated meetings in their homes. Why apologize for meeting them in their homes is because he knows that he was meeting them in their homes on his capacity as the Minister of Finance, which begs the question, why? What was the detail of that meeting? What were you discussing with them on behalf of the Department and Treasury? And that's what we want to know. We don't take his apology until he resigns and steps down, because we cannot have a person taking care of the money of South Africa who lies to the people of South Africa.
Okay, Dr. Taylor, thank you very much for your time. That's Dr. Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, who is the spokesperson of the EFF. I can tell you that after this now, the delegates are busy having their lunch because it's been a busy day. They were telling me that they started gathering here yesterday night, and then almost day one of the program is gone, and then they will go back into commissions. After that, there will be the issue of the elections, because nominations have already been done. They will vote for the top 5 position of the provincial executive. Tomorrow morning, the president of the EFF, Julius Silo Malema, is expected to address the gathering and close this provincial conference of the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal.
Siphamandla, before we let you go, a final word from KZN. Who are the two front-runners, if there are any, for the leadership in the Central Command team within the KwaZulu-Natal region of the Economic Freedom Fighters?
I can tell you that it's going to be a very close and tight contest, but the position that everyone is checking out is the position of the provincial chairperson of the EFF in KwaZulu-Natal. That is where Vusi Khoza and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, who was the provincial leader before the provincial structure was disbanded, they are vying for that position. When they were nominated, both of them accepted nomination. When I saw the hands there that were going up to support the nominations, it tells you that it's going to be a very tight contest between Mbuyiseni Ndlozi and Vusi Khoza.